How are we doing, guys? So we are back on the live streams once again, guys. Get your comments in. Chelsea versus Leeds. Quick tactical preview of the game. I thought I'd do this one live. It's a bit of a different kind of video. It's something I've been trying to do throughout the season, but I thought I'd do this one live. Me and Joe have been going live pretty much every day last couple of days, and you guys seem to be enjoying it, really. So, guys, let me know, first of all, is the sound okay? That is the first question I think I'll ask on any live stream that I do on my own, because I always worry about it. Guys, please put my mind at rest. Is the sound okay? So, anyway, get your comments in as well, guys. Let's get your comments in. What would your team be? What would your Leeds team be going into this game? Obviously, we've got no injury news as of yet. We don't know if there's any injuries, fitness-wise, what's happening. But let us know what your team will be. But first of all, let me know if the sound is okay on this one. Please let me know, guys, because that will put my mind at rest if the sound's good. That's the main thing. Just please put my mind at rest if the sound's okay. But yeah, let us know what your Leeds team is. Let us know your thoughts on Chelsea going into this one. Look, it's thank you, Michael Ruan and White Peacock have put my mind at rest. That was the main thing. There's no good me rambling on if you could not hear me. So let's get on with it, guys. So yeah, Chelsea. Wow. And I think the first person you obviously have to go to is Mr. Frank Lampard, isn't it? It's at Ellen Road when the Lampard masterclass occurred. But yeah, look, obviously it's been a long time since that game. A lot of water has passed under the proverbial bridge since then. But Lampard's gone to Chelsea. We've got promoted ourselves, and we meet again. But let's first of all start with Chelsea. Let's start with Chelsea first of all. Get your comments in, guys. I'm going to go to your comments, but I'm going to start with Chelsea first of all. What am I expecting from Chelsea going into this game? Well, let me just start first of all with the team I'm expecting from Chelsea. So I'm expecting something like this off Chelsea. You just about to see there, kind of a 4-3-3 shape. So you've got Edouard Mendy, obviously they've just signed from Rennes in goal. Obviously, Rafinha will know plenty about him. It'll be quite an interesting little battle, that. Mendy will know a lot about Rafinha as well, to be fair. But don't be surprised if Rafinha's trying shots from distance, because that's a slight little advantage, maybe. Obviously, Rafinha knowing Mendy's goalkeeping style. But to be fair, Mendy so far been nice and solid for Chelsea, in all honesty. I think it's 5 clean sheets in 6 league games for him. The back four, again, it's been quite constant. At the start of the season, Chelsea were having defensive issues, but they tend to have gone with this back four. Reece James, of course, who we kind of know from Wigan 2 seasons ago. Thiago Silva, Kurt Zouma as the centre-back partners, and Ben Chilwell at left-back. And I mean, obviously Ben Chilwell, I think, went off injured, or actually did have a slight knock against Tottenham, but I think he is going to be fit for this game. Again, of course, we're filming this beforehand. And don't forget, guys, me and Joe will be going live on Thursday night as well, after we've heard the press conferences, with a little bit more team news, and we'll be doing a joint preview as well, as we did last week, because you guys seem to really enjoy that. Guys, make sure as well you smash a like and you subscribe to this channel if you are new. And if there's any Chelsea fans here, let yourselves be known. I want to hear about Chelsea, because obviously I'm not seeing loads of Chelsea this season. I've only seen them the last couple of weeks. But let's have some. If there are any Chelsea fans watching this, let's hear it. Let's see what Chelsea's tactics are. Let's see if you agree with my analysis. I'd be genuinely interested. To see if you guys agree. But anyway, that's the back four. 4-3-3 shape, as I said. The midfield three is quite constant as well. N'Golo Kante playing the sitting midfield role, with Mason Mount and Mateo Kovacic just ahead of him. Obviously, Mason Mount, another player we know a lot about from Derby 2 years ago. Scorer of the third goal in that 4-2 game. Played really well that night, to be fair. Well, that'll be an interesting little battle that between Mason Mount and Mateusz Klich. And the front three, Ziyech, Tammy Abraham up top, and Timo Werner out wide. And obviously Tammy Abraham, another player we know quite a lot about as well. So it's an interesting battle from that point of view. This is what I'm kind of expecting from Chelsea, though, a 4-3-3 shape. Get your comments in, guys. Get your comments in. We'll go through them in a second. But yeah, that is kind of what I'm expecting, that 4-3-3 shape. But to start off with, how did Chelsea set up in a tactical sense? Well, going forward, they've got 2 very specific kind of angles of attack, really, Chelsea. 2 very specific angles of attack. The first main thing they can try and create is through balls. They try and use the pace of Werner and Abraham to the best of their ability, really. They try and play the ball over the top into them as quickly as possible, really. And when they're on the ball, they are the first 2 kind of outlets they aim for, especially Timo Werner. I think you saw from that Tottenham game, On this left-hand side, again, left-hand side between Chilwell and Werner. So a lot of Chilwell's passing is very, very good in terms of long distance. We'll always look forward more than anything to Timo Werner making runs just in behind, which will probably be Luke Hayden in this game. And obviously, Tammy Abraham, again, another good outlet, makes plenty of runs in behind as well. So there's a lot of pace in that front three. I think obviously Ziyech as well. Of course, not quite as direct as Abraham and Werner, but a top quality creator. But so that's what you can kind of expect from him. Obviously, Thiago Silva as well, very capable of balls over the top. Mason Mount, of course, Mateo Kovacic, good players in that kind of regard in terms of playing just long passes over the top. And that's what Chelsea kind of tries to do a lot this season, especially against teams that defend in the high line, of course, which is something we do. And obviously Reece James on the other side is more than capable of playing balls over the top as well. So they are quite direct in that sense. They are quite a direct team in the sense that they try and attack the opposition in that way. They don't try and just play pass after pass after pass after pass after pass like you see a lot of the elite teams do. Obviously, Man City, you saw a lot of passing combinations and that lot between like the midfields and the forwards, but there's quite a bit of a disconnect between the forwards and the midfielders. The midfielders don't score a lot of goals in this Chelsea team, especially, of course, N'Golo Kante and Mateo Kovacic. They don't score a lot of goals. They tend to be more in the team for the defensive elements of the game. Mason Mount can chip in with the odd goal, but again, it's been put into that kind of deeper role for more defensive purposes. So it's very much the main goal threats in this Chelsea team is Abraham and Werner, because even the Hakim Ziyech so far hasn't really proven a massive goal threat. Very big creative threat. Obviously James, Chilwell tend to push forward quite a lot as well. And obviously Mount and Kovacic, you can just see in the picture there, tend to move slightly wider than that to cover James and Chilwell. So you obviously got James and Chilwell pushing. Mount and Kovacic will pull out wide when Chelsea are in possession, so they're not susceptible to a counter-attack. Apologies for that, guys. I think the internet went there. Please let me know if I'm back. Apologies for that. That's the one disadvantage of doing the lives anyway. But make sure you let us know if you can still hear me there. But yeah, the key thing here is obviously, talking about Alioski. Alioski is an interesting one. Obviously, I didn't expect to see Alioski start in the game against Everton. But what you saw from Alioski, I think obviously, you look at that game against Everton, it was very difficult to tell what kind of shape we were playing in that Everton game. But I looked at kind of the stats after it and the heat maps and touch maps, etc., etc. And the kind of gist of it was that Alioski was down as playing on the left wing against Everton, with Dallas just behind. And for me, that's quite a defensive switch, but purely on the focus of the opposition. Because on the right-hand side for Everton that day, was James. On the right-hand side in this game will be Ziyech, and very similar kind of play to James. I don't think he's quite got the same magic as James, but he's still a very good player in that kind of regard, and definitely Chelsea's main creative threat. So I can see Alioski starting this game again, to be honest. I can definitely see Alioski starting this game. Obviously, Rodrigo, I think we all want to see Rodrigo in the team, but I can see Alioski starting just to try and, because if you stop Ziyech, I think you stop a lot of Chelsea's creativity, because I think Werner, Abraham, both top players, to be fair, both top players, but not very creative. They're more goal scorers than creative players. And for me, whenever you face someone like Timo Werner, whenever you face someone like Hakim Ziyech, Tammy Abraham, the main thing is stop their supply. And that's what we did against Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin, top player as well, but we stopped the supply. We stopped James. And I think that's what Bielsa's aim is going to be. He's going to use Alioski, for me, on that left wing with Dallas, and they're going to team up to stop James making the runs forward, Ziyech cutting inside. They're going to try and stop that. And it's the same, it's a very similar dynamic to Everton. And I think for me, I can't see Bielsa changing from that, purely from a defensive point of view. Not saying Bielsa's defensive in any sense. I just think Alioski will start on that left-hand side for that purpose, to stop James runs forward, and to stop Ziyech, their main creative threat, really. Because if you do stop Ziyech in terms of crossing the ball into the box, because whenever he gets the ball, he gets it out of his feet very quickly and he puts the ball into the box. So for me, I can definitely see that being the case. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can agree with you on there. I think Werner, I don't know, he's an interesting one. I think he's definitely a goal scoring threat, but again, not having seen tons of Chelsea, but from what I have seen, I've not really seen Werner as a creator so much. I think if you do stop Ziyech on the other side, I think you stop Werner making the runs inside, alongside Abraham. I think you stop a lot of what Chelsea can do, really. But yeah, I look at it from that sense really. Keep your comments coming in. But one comment I did see quite early on, which I do think is quite key, I do think it's a very good point to be fair. Let me just go and find it here. It was right at the start. I will find it here somewhere, guys. It was a really good point to be fair. Oh, I don't know where I lost it. But anyway, the general idea that's not gone to plan, has it? The general idea was that Chelsea are playing tomorrow night against Sevilla away. I know Chelsea are already through. They're not going to play a full team. They're not going to play a full team, Chelsea. But the best thing that can happen, you know what, tomorrow night, the best thing that can happen is Chelsea absolutely hammer Sevilla tomorrow night. The reason for that is because Chelsea play with such high intensity. They try and high press. You know, they do play at quite high intensity, to be fair. If people like Havertz, Pulisic, play well in that game, the best thing for us is that happens because that will then force Lampard to probably start them on Saturday. And then all of a sudden you're starting them when they're kind of not really match fit. And for me, that's the best thing that can happen. Really is the best thing that can happen is Chelsea hammer Sevilla tomorrow night because Lampard has then got to put these players into the team, because Werner was quite quiet on Sunday. Abraham was quite quiet on Sunday. Ziyech was quite quiet on Sunday. If the replacements, Havertz, Pulisic, Giroud, I think Giroud was mentioned as well, if they have good games, they're not really going to be fully match fit, but then they might be forcing their way into on Saturday, again, not fully fit. And for me, that's the best thing that can happen is Chelsea hammer Sevilla tomorrow. Best thing that can happen. Not so much as false sense of security. I think it just forces Lampard into a change he maybe wouldn't make otherwise. And that's going to be quite interesting from that point of view because they've got quite a settled team in the league. If that disrupts it almost winning that game, I think it does. Let us know if you agree with that though, guys. But yeah, you just don't know. But I think obviously Chelsea's depth is another thing. I mentioned that yesterday. They had Havertz coming off the bench. All three players, Havertz, Pulisic, Giroud, coming off the bench. For me, those three players will start for 95% of Premier League teams. So it's interesting from that sense, really. But I would stand by that. If Chelsea win that game easily, it's a win-win for me either way because if they get beat, they go into the Chelsea game under a bit of pressure, in the Leeds game under a bit of pressure because they drop points against Tottenham, beaten by Sevilla. All of a sudden, a little bit of pressure there, in terms of Champions League form. All of a sudden, a little bit of a doubt maybe creeps in. But for me, it's quite a win-win situation that Chelsea are playing on Wednesday night because they can get tired out, fatigue can kick in. I think it's going to be interesting. Tim Smith makes a good point as well. Chelsea having fans in the ground as well. Interesting. Well, obviously, just last night we discussed that sometimes when there's less fans in the ground, maybe if there's any insults being thrown towards the players, if any encouragement from being thrown towards the players can hear that a bit more. So it's quite a unique situation that having I think it'll be 2,000 ground fans at Stamford Bridge on Saturday. That'll be quite interesting from that sense. It'll be quite interesting from that sense to see what kind of difference it makes. And it might make a difference to Chelsea because if Chelsea start the game badly, all of a sudden the fans there, maybe the pressure might kick in a little bit there from that sense. But it might disadvantage us as well. But yeah, that's how Chelsea kind of set up. I'll go back onto Chelsea, in that kind of 4-3-3 shape. But another thing they do try and do, as I said before, crosses into the box. They're very, very big on crosses into the box. And maybe if we lead in the game or it's level late on in the game, Giroud comes on in the game. For me, Ziyech putting balls into the box is something to really look out for. Something we've got to look out for in this game. James Chilwell, excellent fullbacks going forward as well. We've got to watch out for that as well. But yeah, that's kind of Chelsea's setup. I think off the ball, the high press quite a lot. Nowhere near to the extent we do. I think really Ziyech and Abraham don't tend to press too much. Werner certainly does, but I think it's midfield three. Kante, Mount, Kovacic. Now that midfield three, is full of energy. And for me, it's an interesting matchup between Phillips and Klick against that midfield three because I think in terms of energy levels, not saying they've got the fitness levels of Klick, but it's an interesting battle for Klick in that sense that he's going to face a midfield on Saturday, probably the first time all season, certainly in the Championship, that's going to be able to stay with him for 90 minutes in terms of fitness-wise. He's not going to have that same advantage fitness-wise. It's all going to be down to technical quality. I wouldn't say Kante, Mount, Kovacic is a particularly technical front midfield three. I wouldn't say it compares to, say, Man City with De Bruyne, obviously Bernardo Silva, Liverpool with Henderson, Thiago. I don't think it compares to that in that kind of sense. I don't think it's a very technical midfield. I think that midfield's there to help Chelsea press, to help that midfield defensive four out. Because really, Lampard at the start of the season had huge defensive problems, and all of a sudden they've kind of solved it. And I think obviously a lot's been made of Thiago Silva's arrival, Ben Chilwell's arrival, Mendy's arrival. But really, I think that midfield three is a big part of that as well. Mason Mount is a very good presser of the ball. Kovacic is full of energy, really good at winning 50-50s, intercepting the ball. Kante, we all know about N'Golo Kante. Kante's in amazing form this season. I've got to say, from what I've seen of Chelsea so far this season, he's been the outstanding player for me. Outstanding player in that team. He's playing that holding midfield role on his own, and he is really playing a similar role to what Phillips plays for Leeds. I would say, obviously, Kante's an amazing player. Look, he is arguably the best defensive midfield player in this league. And some would say, and I could even make a case for him being the best midfielder in this league, really, because he's just in outstanding form. He's been a consistently outstanding performer at this level. And he's a worry for me in terms of his energy levels, in terms of in the press. What I will say is Chelsea, when you press, you've got to play a high line. And you look at Thiago Silva at 36 years old, Kurt Zouma, neither are particularly mobile. So I'm looking at people like Jack Harrison, Rafinha, Rodrigo maybe coming on, Alioski, all players who can get in behind and use and will beat Silva and Zouma easily in a foot race. So from that sense, if Klick's passing range is correct, if KP's passing range is correct, we can hurt Chelsea in that sense. We can hurt Chelsea with balls over the top and really causing problems in that sense for me. What I've seen from teams this season, Tottenham, trying to think of who else, Newcastle, last two games I've seen Chelsea involved in, neither team went for it. Neither team went for it at all. Neither team even tried to expose that back four, in terms of how much it lacked in pace. Even the fullbacks lack in pace as well. For me, we won't do that. We'll create chances against this Chelsea team from balls over the top, through balls, because we've got that pace and runners in behind. Rafinha has already proven superb at that. Jack Harrison, as we know, is absolutely superb at that as well. But Jack Bullymore makes a really good point. Only problem is it's in London, but there's never been a better time to break that duck. There's never been a better time to break that duck. For me, all records are there to be broken, and that's always been my kind of sense in these kind of games. But for me, I look at it and think, from that idea that we won't sit back as much as Tottenham and Newcastle, who neither team really create chances against Chelsea. But I'm not convinced that there's a great defensive unit. I think if you do play attacking, if you can get behind that midfield, between the midfield and the defence, you can really cause Chelsea problems because they lack pace in that back four for me, especially when you're trying to play a high line in the back four. I think they're going to struggle with that. And you might see a goal for us or a situation arise from that. You kind of saw it with the Everton game, really. But for me, I think there's still a case for that in this game as well. But yeah, that's kind of Chelsea, really. That's kind of the summary. They're very much a high-pressing team, possession-based team. We're going to go into their stats so far this season. They're a team that like to play the ball into Abraham and Werner as quickly as possible. They like to play through balls into Abraham and Werner and try and get them to isolate the back four and use their pace against the back four, especially Timo Werner. They lose him. And he's probably their biggest goal threat going into this game. I wouldn't say outside Abraham and Werner, they have a lot of goal threat in this team, really. I say those two are the main threats to look out for. But as I always say, stop the supply, first of all. Ziyech, Mount, James, Chilwell, press them, and I think you stop a lot of their influence in this game. But of course, out wide, they can create plenty of chances as well. Then Chilwell pushes forward, James pushes forward. Chilwell's been in outstanding form, to be fair, since he's signed. Ziyech is a really good crosser of the ball. And obviously, Abraham is a good in the air. We know how good Tammy Abraham is in the air. And of course, they've got Giroud to bring on as well. So it's going to be a big test for Robin Koch. In that sense, it's going to be a big test for him in that sense. I think he did a superb job on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and it's going to have to be very much same again. And for me, if Leeds put in a similar performance to what they did against Everton, they'll cause this Chelsea team problems. No problem at all. If the press, get the press as good, to pass the ball as well, and if it's free flowing as that, again, will cause this Chelsea team problems for me. Whether it's going to be enough to get the points or a point in this game, who knows? Because let's not forget, Chelsea do have that quality. I think on Everton, they do have that extra little bit of quality for me in pretty much all areas of the pitch. But yeah, no, it's interesting from that sense. But let's look at Chelsea's stats so far this season. It's quite interesting, this, to be fair. In terms of possession, they actually average more possession than us per game. Second in the whole league, I think behind just Manchester City. But what is interesting after that is there's quite a drop off after that. In terms they have a lot of the ball, in terms of shots per game, 13.2. That's only actually the sixth highest in the whole league. So they have a lot of the ball, but sometimes they don't do a lot with it. If the ball into Werner or Abraham isn't on, they tend to recycle possession quite a lot, as those stats show. So if we can cut off that pass, you then leave Chelsea in a situation where they might have a little bit of the ball, but they're not really doing anything with it, as shown there, really. I think they're sixth as well in terms of shot chances created, which isn't quite on this diagram either. In terms of tackles per game, not particularly high either. Interceptions, not particularly high either. For a team that looks to high press, they don't always get it right. You'd expect a team that high presses in terms of tackles and interceptions, bearing in mind Leeds United are top in both regards here. Chelsea are probably one of the, I think obviously Liverpool as well, they're one of the more pressing teams in the league. That isn't particularly impressive in terms of numbers. In terms of the front three don't press particularly well for me. The midfield three press quite well. But for me, a press has always got to start from the front. So it's no good having this midfield that can press if the forwards can't press as well either. So that's interesting from that sense as well. I think we might find it quite easy to play through Chelsea at times. I really do. And I think a big factor for that as well, I've got to go on to this man. I've got to bring this man into it at some point, is Calvin Phillips. Take a look. 1 second. In fact, let me just show it so you can see all of that. Take a look at Calvin Phillips' stats. So just because I was genuinely intrigued here. I didn't know these stats before I looked them up. For me, Calvin Phillips' performances in the last two games, Everton and Arsenal, have been as good as anyone's throughout the season so far. He was outstanding in both games. And there's a big difference in terms of on the ball, in terms of from the start of the season to now. So look at passes. Look at the increase in passes per game from Calvin Phillips. It's gone from 54 first 5 games to 90. That's almost double. That's almost double the amount of passes per game. I haven't seen stats like that in terms of improvement from one game to another. So go from that extreme to the other. Of course, Arsenal had 10 men, but these aren't bad teams Leeds are playing. To have 90 passes in the game. Of course, passes aren't always the most conclusive stat, but that shows a massive increase in terms of confidence from Calvin Phillips in terms of playing in this league, adapting to the league, and understanding the league better. First couple of games, I have to admit, I thought Calvin probably started the season a little bit slower than other players, especially in the midfield. But for me, those stats there, 90 passes compared to 54 at the start of the season, show a massive increase in Calvin Phillips's influence on games now for me. Shows a massive increase. Let us know in your comments there, on Calvin there. I just think that's a massive part now. You've got Calvin playing the ball all the time, being confident, showing for the ball all the time too. The pass accuracy as well, massive increase. Massive increase. Calvin is starting to feel at home in this league. Really starting to feel at home in this league. And then the biggest one of all, the long passes, almost double as well. This is a midfielder who, despite it being his first season in the Premier League, can be an outstanding performer in this league. There's no question at all of that for me. For me, he can really test Mount and Kovacic. I know Mount and Kovacic especially, has played in the Champions League, World Cups, and Premier League. But for me, Phillips, I don't think Phillips would be bothered if Kovacic is trying to press him because he's got that confidence now. He can play through the press. We've seen Mateusz Klik's form so far this season. It'll be easy for him, for me. It'll be easy for him to play through that because of the confidence Phillips has at the minute. He's starting to influence games more. And those stats only emphasise that. Look at the increase. Double the passes, double the long passes, increase in accuracy. He's starting to become really influential in this team. He's starting to become the Pirlo of the Premier League in that sense. He ran both the Arsenal and Everton games. There's no reason why he can't do this again against Chelsea for me. Maybe Lampard's emphasis will be a lot on Calvin Phillips, but then you've got Mateusz Klik to worry about, Rodrigo potentially starting the game. It's interesting for us from that sense. But yeah, keep your comments coming in, guys. So I'm going to have a couple more minutes, and then I want to see comments coming in here. And John Dick says it here. Calvin's last 2 games, you're getting any team in the league. And I can't disagree with that. to play like he has, and guys, keep smashing the like button as well, as Tim Smith says, keep smashing that like button and make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. Calvin gets in any team in this league last 2 games. Calvin gets in any team in this league. And N'Golo Kante, we just spoke about, probably being Chelsea's best player so far this season, would be proud of those last 2 games. N'Golo Kante is a Premier League winner. I don't think N'Golo Kante at his absolute best, and I genuinely do believe this, I don't believe N'Golo Kante at his absolute best would have been able to replicate what Calvin did on Saturday. 21 long passes he played against Everton. It was so natural to him. First touch, he's pinging the ball to the left-hand side. First touch, he's pinging the ball to the right-hand side. You saw the variety in his passing. I don't think there's many midfielders who could have replicated what Calvin did on Saturday in terms of, I know that's Calvin at his absolute best. Calvin's got to continue to produce like this until they start comparing him to Kante. But I genuinely believe that if Phillips plays like he did against Everton, Chelsea will struggle. Chelsea will struggle to cope with that in that sense. Look, I don't want to play down Chelsea too much because Chelsea are a team that really should be competing for the title. I showed you that starting 11 there. The options are off the bench. They've got quality in this team. But for me, in terms of what we've got, we can hurt this Chelsea team because I don't think a lot of teams have tried to play Chelsea. I don't think they've actually tried to go toe-to-toe with Chelsea. We'll do that. And I do think that midfield's something for us to target in terms of technical quality. Phillips and Click, natural passes of the ball. There's just seeing there, Calvin needs to score more. For me, you know what? If Calvin gets as high up the pitch as he did against Everton, I genuinely think Calvin will start to get more goals in this Leeds team. I've got no doubt about that. I think he will start to get more goals in this Leeds team. But keep your comments coming in, guys. And yes, Tim Smith says, those stats are crazy. It's insane. I looked it up thinking, surely there's going to be an increase in what terms of Calvin's influence on games. But I didn't think it'd be that much. And that really is a player in terms of at full confidence, at full fitness, having, had a couple of weeks off with the injury from kind of playing and that lot, considering it was quite a short pre-season, considering he was actually on international duty when a lot of our other players weren't. It's quite interesting from that sense. And it is an interesting one. Why Calvin's numbers have gone up so much. But it can only be good for Leeds United if Calvin Phillips is being that influential. And for me, Calvin's going to be closer. Let me just go to the stats again. For the rest of the season, for me, look, Calvin's not going to continue to play 90 passes of the game at 90% accuracy and 13 long passes of the game. It's unrealistic to expect that. But for me, over the season, he'll come closer to those levels of performance in the last 2 games than his first 5 games. The first 5 games, I think he was a player who was getting used to the league. I really do. I think he was a player that was getting used to the league. I think because it's a big role to play. You're playing as one holding midfielder, protecting the front 5 effectively, and a back 4 that's pushing up. Got Aylan, Dallas playing ahead of him. It's a tough position to play, especially in a league where the quality is much higher. We'll have a little bit less of the ball, a little bit less dominance of games because the quality difference is bigger. That is massive for Calvin Phillips. He is now fully adapted to this league for me. And for me, the next step is becoming an England regular, becoming an England first choice, and becoming one of the best holding midfielders in this league. And there's no doubt for me in terms of technical quality, Calvin Phillips can do that. I've already said there's not many midfielders in this league who could have replicated what Calvin Phillips did against Everton on Saturday, or even what Calvin did against Arsenal on last Sunday, or almost 2 weeks ago. He was unreal in both games. And I've already said that, used that word. He was unreal. And that was interesting in that sense. I think a key battle as well, just to go back onto Chelsea, is Kante against probably Rafinha. I was saying before, I didn't know what shape we were playing against Everton on Saturday, but it did have Rafinha down as playing in the 10 role. Rafinha against Kante is a top quality battle. It's a seriously top quality battle. If Rafinha look, I'm talking about Rafinha getting the better of a top quality player in Kante. But if Rafinha can win that battle, I think Leeds really causes Chelsea team problems because Kante is so key in front of that back 4. In terms of the energy in front of that back 4, that's not particularly mobile, especially the 2 centre backs. Kante is so key to the whole. He's the glue that holds Chelsea together. He's the glue that holds Lampard's tactical systems together. If Chelsea played Jorginho on Saturday, I'd be absolutely buzzing because there's no way they'll have that same level of protection in front of the back 4. I don't think they will. I really don't think they will, to be honest. But if they did do something like that, if they did play a different, starting 11, if they did pick up an injury, fatigue, etc., from that Champions League game, it'd be a massive boost to us. But I don't think it will happen. Then you got to think about Rodrigo as well to come off the bench. Kante's going to have a bit of a test on Saturday. He's going to actually have people running at him, people trying to attack, us trying to play attacking football against him. And I think we can hurt Chelsea in that sense. Really do. I think Tim Smith makes a really good point. Chelsea players will be on Calvin Phillips from the start. Lampard will know he is a threat. That's definitely the case. I think that they will try and target Calvin Phillips in the press. They will try and, because they know Calvin Phillips is the person who starts our attacks. I love Robin Koch. I love Coops. I love our whole back four. But this season to last season, I think last season, obviously Ben White started a lot of our attacks, to be fair. He did start a lot of our attacks. But this season, it's all got to kind of go through Phillips in terms of that sense. They know they'll have to press Calvin Phillips. And so it's in terms of the confidence Calvin Phillips is showing on the ball. I think Calvin Phillips will invite that. I think Calvin Phillips will be perfectly happy. I think he'll like that. I think he'll enjoy the sense that, the opposition feel threatened by him and they're going to try and press him. But when they press him, they leave space in behind for the pacey players like Rafinha, Rodrigo, Alioski, Harrison. We can hurt Chelsea in that sense. And for me, I think, and look, I'm not said Kante's scared of Leeds. I'm not said Kante's scared of Leeds. Kante's a world-class footballer. Kante's the best player in that Chelsea team by a mile for me. What I will say is that Kante won't be used to playing against a team that's going to play a little bit more on the front foot. He won't be used to that for me. And if we can win that battle, or if we can get 2 or 3 players running at that Chelsea back four, Kante can't cover everyone. Kante can't cover Rafinha, Rodrigo, Harrison, Alioski on one side, and Aylin Bamford on the other side, Click on the other side. He can't do that. He can't all just be down to Kante. If we overload Chelsea in that area, as good as Kante is, as much energy as he does have, he can't cover everyone. So if we can get at Chelsea in that sense, we cause some big problems for me. But yeah, keep your comments coming in, guys. Sam King says, surely Rodrigo starts. I don't think he does, to be honest. I think we go with a similar shape to what we did against Everton. I think the fact we were so good against Everton, the fact Bielsa was so praising of our performance against Everton, I can't see that, to be honest. I do think it'll be Alioski again. Alioski has said, if you are just joining, I think it'll be from a defensive point of view. Alioski, Dallas combining to stop that Chelsea right-hand side, because a lot of Chelsea's creativity comes from that right-hand side. James, Ziyech, Alioski, Dallas will double up to try and nullify that right-hand side, because a big part of Bielsa's plan against Everton was to not only stop Calvert-Lewin, to stop the supply into him. And for me, that is what he's going to do. But guys, I'm going to Claudio, our man Claudio has joined us. What's the score prediction on this one? Really difficult to say. You know what? It's really difficult to say. I think there's more goals in this game than Everton. I think that Everton game, to be fair, on another day, that could have been a 4-3, 5-3 game. I think in most days, that's a 4-3, 5-3 game, to be honest. But I look at it and I think there's goals in this game. I certainly think both teams are going to score. Can we beat Chelsea? I think we can. I genuinely do think we can beat Chelsea. Are we going to beat Chelsea? I don't know, but I genuinely do. If we are on that playing like we did against Everton and Arsenal, I think we can cause this Chelsea team problems. Of course, going the other way, Chelsea will cause us more problems than what Everton and Arsenal did. There's no doubt about that in my mind. But if we can play like we did in those 2 games, I don't see why we can't beat Chelsea. And look, Chelsea are a good team. I'm not going to be too big-headed and arrogant to say Chelsea aren't a good team, because they are a good team. But I don't think they're that good in terms of, I don't think they're a team that's competing with the Liverpool and Manchester Cities at this minute in time. I genuinely don't think that. And I think if a team attacks them, like Southampton did a couple of weeks ago, they scored 3 goals at Stamford Bridge, like West Brom did, at the start of the season, you cause this Chelsea team problems, because when you've got Thiago Silva and Kurt Zouma in a foot race, you've won the battle. The tough thing is getting them in that foot race to start with, because Kante, Kovacic, Mount protect that back four really well. Obviously, going forward, they've got a lot of creativity. They've got options off the bench, plenty of options off the bench. It's tough from that sense. But yeah, keep your predictions coming in. A lot of confidence, to be fair. I'd love to see this confidence. 3-0 leads. 2-0 leads, 2-1 leads off Philip Anderson, 3-0 leads off Sam King, 2-0 off Doug Palmer. I love the confidence, guys, because for me, I don't feel the slightest bit of nerves going into this game. I don't feel the slightest bit of nerves going into this game. You know, that's an interesting one, David Wood. Chelsea fans must be fighting talk, to be fair. Neil Copeland, Rodrigo will start. We'll have the same team as we did against Man City. And yeah, I'd fully welcome that. I think if Rodrigo starts this game, along with Rafinha, Harrison, Click, Kante can't cover all those players. When you're playing a single pivot, you can't cover all those players. He'll be reliant on that midfield to protect him. And for me, that's what we've got to target. We've got to target and make sure we're not playing 1v1. Because if you play 1v1 against Kante, you're not going to win the battle. You're not going to win the battle. You're not going to dribble past Kante. It's impossible. You saw the job Kante did under Bele for Tottenham. He was outstanding in terms of winning that battle. You can't play 1v1 against Kante because you're just not going to win the battle. And of course, in terms of man-to-man marking, that's another element to the game. It might be a bit tougher for us because obviously, man-to-man, you look across that Chelsea team, you look across that Leeds team, it's going to be difficult in individual battles. But I still think it's the right approach. I think you can't sit back against Chelsea because if you sit back against Chelsea, you just wait for them to create chances. And you wait for them to create chances, Abraham or Burn's going to stick one into the back of the net. Havertz will stick one into the back of the net. All these players, Pulisic, Giroud, yeah, as he says, James will cross. You've got to stop that cross against Reece James because it's good. It's a good delivery he's got there. For me, I think he started the season better than Trent Alexander-Arnold, to be honest. He's got to be up there with the best right backs in the league at this minute in time. So, and that's why I think Alioski will start left wing. I think he'll start left wing to try and nullify that, to stop Reece James putting crosses into the box. I do expect that to happen. I love this confidence of Neil Copeland. We will destroy Chelsea. You know what? If we score first, I think we've got a big opportunity. JJ says Luke Hayden over Reece James. Yeah, why not? Luke Hayden, his form in 2020, not just in the Premier League, across the whole league, he's been absolutely outstanding. Luke Hayden has been outstanding. We can't dismiss our players in terms of what they've done so far this season. They have been absolutely superb. And as Gareth says as well, we're afraid of no one in the Prem, and we shouldn't be. We really shouldn't be fearful of anyone. I'm certainly not fearful of Chelsea because there's massive flaws to that system. You play a high line with defenders who can't really run, not particularly fast. You have 36-year-old Thiago Silva. They might be good 1v1. When they're having to defend open space, got pacey runners running at them, they struggle. They will struggle. You've seen it with West Brom, Southampton, Liverpool. We've got pace in this team. We've got outlets, we've got creativity. We can hurt Chelsea in that sense. If we pass the ball well, we move it around well, if Phillips settles into the game, Click settles into the game, it'll be interesting. So yeah, I really do think we can hurt them. I'm just going to read through a couple more comments before I sign off, guys. But guys, thanks so much for joining us again. 136 of you joined at the minute. Absolutely superb. I'm glad you're enjoying these live streams. Make sure you comment as well in this live chat, or if you're watching it later on, in the comments down below if you want more live streams and more of this, because this is quite a new kind of video for me in terms of trying a live tactical preview. It's something I've been wanting to do throughout the season. It's something I've tried during the season, but I've not tried it live before, and I'm glad you're enjoying it, guys. But yeah, we'll do plenty more lives as well. Me and Joe are live with Chelsea Fan tomorrow. Thursday, me and Joe will be going live, reacting to the press conference, joint preview of the game, reacting to the team news, etc., etc. We'll be there again on Thursday and Friday, of course, before the whistle blows. Plenty of live streams, and of course, a watch along on Saturday. It's never ending at All East TV. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already and like the video. I did really like this comment of Claudio, to be fair. I'm just going to read through this because it's a really interesting one. Do you reckon Lampard will set up defensively like he did against the top six so far this season and play out for a draw? Or does his arrogance make him try and put loads past us? I think there's two ways I'd look at this. I don't think Lampard, after dropping points against Tottenham, can afford to do anything else than attack us and try and play on the front foot. I don't think he can do anything else, because if Chelsea drop more points, you'd have to say the pressure's on them in terms of the title race. I think they can slip about 4 or 5 points behind, if they don't win that game. And And Roman Abramovich wants a title challenge. No mistake about it for me. I really do believe that Roman Abramovich, after all that outlay, 250 million, will be expecting a title challenge. I've seen this comment as well. Mount made all your fans cry with little Derby. Watch what he does with the Chelsea. Maybe he did, but for me, in terms of the 4 times Mateusz Klich and Mason Mount have played against each other, I'm not saying Mason Mount's a good player. There's no doubt about that. Mason Mount's a good player. I'm not going to deny that. All the players in that Chelsea team are good players. But for me, when I look at Mateusz Klich against Mason Mount, Mateusz Klich won 3 of those 4 battles pretty easily. I think, to be fair, I'd probably seen that game we lost Derby. Certainly in the first half, he was winning that battle against Mason Mount. Of course, the second half, fair play. Derby did play really well in that second half after we made the mistake. And, obviously Derby went on to win the game. But for me, Mateusz Klich, 3.5 out of those 4 games, has looked comfortable against Mason Mount. I know Mason Mount's a goal threat. I know he can do this and that. I know he works hard off the ball. He's a good player. But for me, Mateusz Klich can win that battle. In terms of who's played better this season so far, it's Mateusz Klich for me all day long so far this season. Whether that's going to translate in the game, I don't know. I enjoy games like this. I really do enjoy games like this because you've got interesting battles all over the pitch. Mount against Phillips, Klich against Kante, Ziyech against Dallas, Abraham against Koch, Werner against Aylan, Rafinha against Chilwell, Bamford against Thiago Silva, and trying to think of who else not spoken about, Harrison against James. Really, if you're a non-Leeds fan watching this, you'd think I'd be deluded if I said Leeds had any chance in any of those battles. But in terms of the confidence we're playing with, in terms of the whole game intelligence we're showing, our tactical approach, I think it's a lot more solid than Chelsea's at the minute. Of course, Chelsea got the better quality. This has got the makings of a top quality game. No mistake about it. Really, really good game of football, this. And that's what I'm hoping for. I really am hoping for a good game of football. And yeah, I think it will be a really good game. Klich has the most fouls in the league. Is that correct? I believe it is correct, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think in terms of the way we play, when we get caught off the ball, in terms of when we lose the ball, we've got so many people pushed forward. Klich's got to make the odds foul, because if he doesn't make the foul, we're at massive risk of getting counter-attacks, because you've got both full-backs flying forward, you've got the whole midfield pushing forward, and you kind of got just the 2 centre-backs trying to guard kind of 30, 40 yards of space. Sometimes Klich's got to make the odds foul, and for me, that's not a bad stat at all. For me, that's a good stat. Tactical fouling is a big part of the game now. You see Liverpool do it, you see Man City do it. There's no reason why Klich shouldn't do it as well. And for me, that's a good sign. I'd imagine Phillips is quite high there as well. Sometimes you just got to know when to foul. And we haven't conceded a single goal from the counter-attack, I don't think. Oh, actually, no, the Leicester game, sorry. We did concede us from the counter-attack. But other than that, we've defended really well against them. And hopefully that continues again on Saturday. But yeah, look, it's a really tough game on Saturday. I'm going to sign off in a second. And yeah, Andrew Saxton, because Andrew Saxton makes a really good point here. Leeds play better against attacking teams. It's only when they part with bus they struggle. And this will be what Chelsea do for me. Claudio was saying before, I think Lampard will be that determined to win this game in terms of his own professional pride. I think he's going to attack. And for me, I think it plays into our hands. Like Everton did, I think it does play into our hands. I think it gives us more space to attack. Slow defenders, our pace going forward. I think we can hurt Chelsea in that sense. But don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted at all. Chelsea can hurt us going the other way because they've got so much quality. Ziyech on his day is unplayable. Werner on his day is unplayable. The whole attacking unit Chelsea have on their day is absolutely unplayable. It really is, to be honest, and that's something we can't deny. If Chelsea play at their best, they're going to be a really, really tough. It's going to be a really tough game. But there's no pressure on Leeds here. There's no pressure on Leeds at all there. Leeds will. Bielsa's already proven his point against Frank Lampard when it was quite even. It was 2 kind of even kind of resources between Derby and Leeds United. Bielsa proved over 3.5 games he had the better of Lampard. If Lampard wins that game on Saturday, it proves nothing for me. It really does prove nothing for me. Until you kind of got them on equal resources, it's very difficult to compare the two. But when they did have equal resources, Bielsa won the battle. Mate, there's no question about that. I'm not going to say Lampard's the worst manager ever because he's not. I'm not going to say I like Lampard because I don't. I'm also not going to have this Lampard some kind of tactical genius if he wins on Saturday. It's not the case. Lampard has just got the superior quality. He's got the superior resources. Bielsa's system is more proven for me, and maybe that might translate on Saturday. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. I think it's going to be a top quality game either way. I don't feel any pressure going into this one because, we're a newly promoted team. I know we're going to go there. I know we're going to play our stuff. I know we're going to create chances. Are we going to take them? I don't know. But guys, are going to sign off anyway. It's been an absolute pleasure tonight. Make sure you let us know in the comments if you want more of these kind of videos, and check us out Wednesday night. We're going to be doing preview with an opposition Chelsea fan. Thursday night, me and Joe are going to be joined together doing a joint preview of the game, go through our lineup for the game, team news, press conference news, etc., etc. Make sure you catch it. Martin Nolan says exactly my thoughts. 3 hits, a point would be amazing. Any kind of result here would be amazing. And I'd have to agree with that 100%. Andrew Saxton has made the best comment of the night for me. Lampard bought a team, Bielsa built one. That is an absolutely outstanding. That is absolutely, you know what, Andrew Saxton? That is an absolutely outstanding comment. I could not have pulled it, but you can talk 400, 500 words about Lampard versus Bielsa, but that is the best way you can kind of sum it up for me. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there anyway, guys. But yeah, Thursday night as well, me and Joe joint previews. Friday before the whistle blows, and Saturday the watch along and plenty of match day content, guys. We're going to aim to get something out pretty much every day, if not every day. Look, guys, we're going to get plenty of content out. That's pretty much all I'm going to say. We're going to put plenty of content out. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already, because we are going to be constantly putting out daily content for you fantastic people. Honestly, can't thank you enough, guys, for joining us tonight. So flash a couple of comments before I go. Massively appreciate it, guys. Massively appreciate it, guys, joining us tonight. And yeah, I'm going to leave it there anyway. I've been Oscar. See you later, guys. All Leeds TV.